is much to be gained from meditation, but like so many of our topics, it can be confusing to know where to start, how to do it, when to do it, and even getting confirmation to know that you are actually doing it right when you start. So I wanted to try, if I can, to simplify this process a little bit so that everyone can understand the basics of meditation, the different types of things that you can practice, and some of the many, many benefits that you can expect to experience through a practice that you bring into your daily routines. Now, in Buddhism, meditation is all about familiarization. And the principal idea here is that you are familiarizing your mind with beneficial states of thought. So things such as compassion, empathy, treating others equally and with respect. And over time, the idea is that you begin to realize that the non-virtuous thoughts that we all have from time to time, such as greed, anger, hatred, maybe even jealousy, we start to acknowledge and understand that these are really destructive in our lives. The key idea is not to be hard on yourself when contemplating any of the less sort of favourable attributes or characteristics that you may harbour in your nature, but instead to use your awareness to change and ultimately improve yourself. Now, the most common experience for somebody meditating for the first time is the recognition of just how busy your mind is. Because until you really try and quieten your mind, you often don't realise the amount of arising thoughts, ideas, memories, sounds, sensations, visions, everything, just, the noise that goes on in your head is constant. And this sensation is often referred to as monkey mind or monkey brain, where you are literally like a monkey continuously jumping from one branch of thought to the next, to the next, to the next, and you're never really stopping. You're just constantly on the move. But by understanding the current nature of your brain, you can begin to learn how to make the necessary changes that are required. Because the success of meditation depends on many factors, not least the state of your own mind before you begin, but also things like your stress levels, your physical and emotional well-being, and also your own tiredness. And these things will be seen and identified by the fact that some sessions of meditation just feel better or more successful than others. And that's perfectly normal. So, don't expect too much in the early days. Be patient and be kind to yourself always, because that is the only way we can actually look to move on with anything we're trying to do. Now, meditation can, to be fair, be practiced almost anywhere, but somewhere that is quiet and restful is really what you're looking for, somewhere that you're not going to be disturbed. Now, it's also a good idea to have a cushion or a comfortable chair and maybe a glass of water on hand. And over time, I find that it's helpful if you actually dedicate a space, a special space for your own meditation practice. You can leave a few bits around, maybe some crystals that you resonate with, or something that just makes it feel more special. But ultimately, as long as it's comfortable, clean, tidy and quiet, then it will be absolutely fine for you. Now, as a beginner to meditation, you probably want to work to the rule of little and often, because there really is no benefit in trying to still your mind for lengthy periods of time when you are absolutely new to the process. You wouldn't sign up to run a marathon before you'd been out for your first sort of jog around the block or around the park. And this is the same thing. It's difficult to maintain, and you're more likely to give up in the early stages if you expect too much too soon. So once again, be kind to yourself. Meditation, by its very nature, is calming and a restorative process that has to be or should be something that you enjoy. It's not something you endure and struggle through. Now, you may also, to be fair, have read about the optimum posture or the position for meditation. And we've all seen the symbols and the images of, the crossed legs and the raised hands and what have you. And for a more experienced practitioner, I agree that there are some real benefits to this. But for a beginner, I would really suggest finding a position that's simply comfortable so that you aren't inclined to fidget and move around, that you don't get a dead leg or whatever, but also not so comfortable that you run the risk of perhaps falling asleep during the process. Unless, of course, you're trying a guided sleep meditation that takes you through the journey that ultimately ends in a good night's sleep. Now, I choose to close my eyes when I meditate, but if you struggle to refrain from falling asleep, then leave your eyes slightly open but gaze down. And don't really focus on anything. So just have that kind of hazy kind of sensation in your eyes, and that will be just fine for you. Now, breathwork is probably one of the most important parts of a meditation practice. And almost certainly it's the first thing that you really need to work on and ultimately master. Now, we can try some simple steps and practices here right now in this video by simply, if I ask you to place your thoughts on your breath, and you'll realize that by doing so, it's actually quite easily possible to quieten that monkey mind of yours and really start to improve your own sense of concentration. Now, I need you to aim to become fully aware of your breath as it enters your body and then as it leaves again as you exhale. And you can do this by concentrating on the rise and the fall of your tummy, or consider the sensations of the air as it passes in through your mouth or your nose. Now, I tend to breathe in through my nose and out through my mouth, but really go with whatever feels the most comfortable for you. There are no hard and fast rules in terms of doing this. What I do want you to do is to make sure that as you exhale each breath slowly, you set yourself an achievable target and count. And perhaps 6 or 7 counts to begin with is something that would be comfortable for you to work with. Now, when you start to experience sensations of quietness, of stillness and peace, then really hold on to those feelings as best you possibly can and try and experience those sensations as fully as possible, because that is what we are starting to want to be achieving from our meditations. If you become distracted or you lose those sensations, and trust me, that will happen, then return your focus back to your breathing and just start again with those in and out slow breaths and the counting, and just keep it methodical and distract yourself from everything else. That said, distractions come in many forms. They can be sound, physical, happy or unhappy memories, or maybe events that you haven't considered for some time. And they often pop up, particularly in the early stages of a meditation practice. These are all fine and they are perfectly normal, as I said, particularly in the beginning of a meditation practice. Now, if you are easily distracted, what I would say is don't allow yourself to get angry or frustrated by the fact that it's happening. It is just that monkey mind of yours springing into action once again. And being aware of the problem in itself is actually a sign that you are indeed making progress. So it is actually a positive. Now, I've found personally that the best way to handle distractions is not to indulge in them or to attempt to repel them, the same as you wouldn't humour a naughty child. Okay? The harder you try and avoid something, the more it looks for your attention and the more it seeks you out and tries to get a reaction. And as these things arise in your mind, and they will, to be fair, they will, acknowledge the thought and allow it to just disappear on its own accord. Just acknowledge the thought and return to your practice, focusing on your breathing and your steady counting. Just resume that calm everything down and slow it down. And in time, it will become, I promise you, it will become a habit that doesn't require you thinking about and focusing on. Just as a mother never loses patience with a curious baby, you need to be the same with your mind, with your brain. Just bring it back, kindly and gently bring it back to the breath work, the thing that you're focusing on, and acknowledge that the wandering and the distractions are just all part of the process in the art of learning to meditate. And, these are just baby steps for you in the very beginning. So be kind to yourself. There's that phrase again. Now, for sure, effort is important, but it is almost impossible, or it is possible to try too hard, okay? Meditation should be enjoyable and relaxing. It's an inspiring experience, and ideally you should finish your session already looking forward with anticipation to the next one, rather than trying to find a multitude of reasons to avoid it. If you find yourself reaching for the iron or the oven cleaner instead of meditating, then you know that there's something wrong. But if you do feel yourself becoming frustrated, then perhaps take a break. And this could be just a quick walk outside, get some fresh air, and perhaps try again later on in the day. But if it is consistently a problem that you're coming up against, then maybe what you need to do is just spend a little bit of time in quiet reflection and think about what it is that you want to get from your own meditation practice, and the reasons why this is something so important for you to bring into your life at this particular moment in time. Now, often we are inclined to think about our brains or our minds as some kind of container or a box, or a filing cabinet that sits on the top of our head, or a great big sort of internal computer, if you like, that keeps everything ticking along and files everything for us in the right kind of order. And often we say things like, I'll save that piece of information, I'll file that piece of information for for later use. Or an expression that I am probably too guilty of using is, my head is so full of stuff that's going on at the moment. But the reality is, our brain is not, our mind, not our brain, our mind is not a physical entity. It's not something tangible. And, even the best surgeons in the world are unable to operate on a human body, extract the mind from the body, and literally hold it in their hands. And that is something quite fascinating. When you think your mind is capable of so many things, and all the experiences that you have that are given to you from your mind, and yet we still, with all the science and technology that we have around us today, we are still unable to physically see it or touch it, or to really truly understand it. Now, for anyone who is familiar or follows the teachings of Buddha, you will know that there is reference to the mind being formless, in the fact that there is no beginning and there is no end, and it's basically a dynamic process of experiences that we are taken on a journey as we experience them as we go through the process of life. And in that respect, there is no birth, there is no death. It is all about reincarnation and regeneration, and that's essentially from one experience to the next to the next. And in that basis, the belief is that our body, if you like, is essentially a vehicle, and all that vehicle is doing is transporting our mind to give us the different experiences that we have as we move through life. And I guess as long as you are happy and satisfied with your existence and where you are in life, then by all means, hats off to you, my friend. Carry on as you are and do nothing and make no changes. But if by becoming aware of the nature and the power, the potential of the human mind, you then start to become more open to the belief that we can be anything we want or anything we want to experience, then you start to understand and acknowledge that profound changes are possible for you in your life just by connecting with and using the power of your mind. And that, for me, is where this whole process gets incredibly exciting. Now, karma is another word that gets branded around in society as pretty much an everyday phrase. But the reality is that karma is so important in every single aspect of your life, because essentially the experiences that you are currently living through and the things that are arising and happening in your life right now are not doing so without cause. For something to exist, there has to, or for something to come into existence, there must be a reason. You know, cause and effect is something that we're all incredibly familiar with in terms of science and everything else. And so it is in terms of our mind and our lives. A cause or a reaction to a situation creates the experience that you are currently living. So whether you think you are right or wrong, whether you're going to have a good day or a bad day, you're actually right, because the thing that you think about, if you wake up and say today's going to be shocking, you're right, because you've told yourself that, and that's what you're setting yourself up for. So what we are taught is that the experience is driven by karma, or a term that is more comfortable with me being the law of attraction, teaches us that our mind is the result of our past actions and experiences that are causing our reality to play out as it is right now. And so, essentially, certain actions that have happened in the past will result in experiences of suffering and hardship, whilst others will find that they are experiencing great happiness and success in their lives. And essentially what they're experiencing now is derived from the thoughts that they have had previously in their life. So whatever you're thinking about now, be really careful, because what you're doing is you're shaping and creating your future. So now we understand a little bit more about essentially fundamentally how the mind works and how it can and ultimately does bring into our existence whatever it is that we've been focusing on and really thinking about. I hope that you can start to understand why meditation is such a powerful tool, because by taking the time to still our thoughts and calm our minds, what we're actually doing is we are connecting deep within ourselves to our intuition or to our spirit guides, our guardian angels, whatever it is that you want to connect to. And we're getting that guidance from them and the clarity that we need to help us to really bring about the things that we are looking to manifest into our lives. And meditation is a really, really key component in that entire process. Through meditating, you can gain absolute clarity on what the next step should be in your business, or what you need to do about a challenging relationship, whether that be with a family member, a loved one, a child. Literally what you can do when you still your mind and just listen to that internal voice within you is just incredible, and that is where you find the guidance that you need. Now obviously on top of that, there are a whole number of other things that we need to factor in. So, the whole art of cause and effect that we were talking about earlier, the whole sort of positive thinking mentality, the compassion and empathy that we show to other people will naturally come back to us. Whereas if there is anger and aggression and jealousy, that is what you're going to find coming back to you. And the reality is there is a time delay, and to be honest, that's probably a good thing, because what that means is that you can change your thought process right now to make sure that you're changing the reality to become one that is more desirable to you, to give you the kind of outcome that you're actually wanting from life. So you can take control of that. Now, as we say, it's not an instant kind of flick of a switch and suddenly the thing that you're wanting materializes in your life, but meditation can actually give you the clarity to really indicate to you if you're on the right path to achieving the things that you want to bring into your life. So I hope that what we've done in this short video is to really explain some of the processes associated with meditation, and really, I suppose, fundamentally what we've looked at is the power of the mind and the fact that you really can shape your own destiny to become anything that you want it to be, however you want it to look. But what you have to do is really master your thoughts and your mind to bring these things into your existence further down the line.